Hello and welcome back. Thanks for watching again. I'm Father Jason Tyler, pastor at St. Joseph Catholic Church in Fayetteville. Happy to present another video to you on this papal interregnum, this papal transition between Pope Francis, who passed away April 21st, Easter Monday, transition between him and the ultimate election of his successor, which is still at least a good week away, we would imagine, with the conclave starting 6 days from now on May the 7th. I'm recording this on Thursday evening, May 1st. Probably seeing it uploaded and sent out to everyone tomorrow on May the 2nd. But it's, in fact, timing is a big part of what I want to talk about tonight, and specifically the timing around the death of Pope Francis. It occurred on Easter Monday, and that's a phrase I was glad to see a lot of secular news sources even use the phrase Easter Monday. I know it's a phrase we certainly use within the church, within our liturgical calendar, but I wasn't sure that it was as widely known or recognized in the secular world, but indeed I did see quite a few sources using that. He passed in the morning, about 7:30 in the morning on Easter Monday. And that was after having visited, on Sunday with J.D. Vance, the U.S. Vice President, and having gone out and greeted the crowds in St. Peter's Square for the Urbi et Orbi Mass, or Urbi et Orbi blessing, that the Pope traditionally does on Christmas and Easter, and on the election of a new Pope. So we'll get to see that relatively soon when we have a new Pope elected. But, again, the surprising thing was sort of there with the timing of his death. But his passing on Easter is an interesting thing, or not on Easter itself, but Easter Monday. It's an interesting thing because in Easter we're celebrating new life. We're new life in the risen Christ. And in celebrating that new life, so you might almost think, well, gosh, does a death mean is that in some way contrary to what we're celebrating? But actually, it's very much connected to it, because with the resurrection of Jesus, we believe that our own resurrection is possible. And so having someone leave this world around that time, in many ways, it's very appropriate. And Easter is a day, but it's also a long season that we celebrate. So Easter Sunday, of course, everyone would recognize. That was April the 20th this year. It can move around every year. And then there's an 8-day period that begins on Easter Sunday. It's called the Octave of Easter. That's that 8 days from Easter Sunday to the following Sunday, which we call Divine Mercy Sunday on the Catholic liturgical calendar. And the whole Easter season runs from Easter Sunday down to Pentecost Sunday. So it's a 50-day season that we get for Easter. And so the Pope, again, he dies on Easter Monday. And with that idea of connecting to Easter in some ways, not that there's ever a great time, but in many ways, from a liturgical perspective, we might even say Easter, or even anywhere within the octave of Easter for that matter, maybe is a good day to die. And so we saw that with Pope Francis. But there were some small complications liturgically that come about as a result of that. The Easter octave, that 8-day period, is kind of a privileged time liturgically in the life of the church. And so pretty much any Mass that you're celebrating that week, from Easter Sunday to Divine Mercy Sunday, needs to be the Mass of the day. And so votive Masses, for example, are not normally celebrated during that time. A votive Mass might be like if you have a great devotion to the Sacred Heart, and you maybe have there's a particular text with some particular prayers, even possibly changes of readings that can happen for a votive Mass, say of the Sacred Heart, or of the Blessed Mother, or of particular saints, maybe in certain cases. And so there are some devotions that are tied to these, like First Friday of the month is often people think of with the Sacred Heart. Saturdays with the Blessed Mother. And certainly private devotions can continue to happen on any of those, but you would not have, again, the votive Masses in there. One kind of Mass, though, that you can definitely have during the octave of Easter is the funeral Mass. The funeral Mass is allowed on days when a lot of other things might not be. Funeral Masses, because there's the pastoral need to comfort and console the family and help them with the grieving process, as well as really a need for, sometimes practically speaking, in years past, you had to get the body in the ground within a few days. You didn't want a body lying around too long and starting to decompose before it went into the ground, at least certainly in invisible or olfactory ways. So the church traditionally has given a lot of leeway again to a funeral Mass happening on days when other votive Masses or Masses for various needs and occasions, or maybe even other ritual Masses, typically would not happen. So again, the Pope's funeral Mass happened on Saturday within the octave of Easter, so it's definitely within the octave. But in terms of a memorial Mass that might happen at the local parish level, really, if that happened during the octave of Easter, the liturgical rubrics, as I read them, would call for using the readings of the day and the prayers of the day. Now, certainly all that's adaptable, right? The Mass intention can be for Pope Francis in that situation. And again, if you're reading Easter octave readings, you're reading readings about new life and the resurrection, and again, things that are very appropriate just after someone has passed. And so I'm certain there were various ways that this was able to be done in a variety of places. The way we did it at St. Joseph was, again, we had the Liturgy of the Hours Monday night, Easter Monday night. We prayed that from the Office for the Dead and had, from what I understand, about 200 people there. I was not there, unfortunately. I had already planned to be out. But then we did have a memorial Mass for Pope Francis on Tuesday, the 29th of April. And we did, in fact, use, funeral readings and funeral prayers for that, which, again, is probably would not have happened, or would not have happened, definitely. If we had done it during the octave of Easter, we would have used simply the daily readings. But by putting it to that second week, not only does it help liturgically for the reasons I just mentioned, but also it lined us up with some of the Novemdial days in which those Masses were being celebrated in Rome on those 9 consecutive days of funeral Masses that I spoke about before. Interestingly enough, if you remember back 20 years ago when Pope St. John Paul II died, his date of death was April 2nd, but we had an earlier Easter that year. And so his death actually occurred on Saturday within the octave of Easter. So John Paul II also died within the octave of Easter, although later within the octave, such that his funeral was on the Friday of the second week of Easter, so it was definitely outside of the octave at that point. It was also the case then with John Paul II's death. It was the Vigil for Divine Mercy Sunday, and which was, in some ways for him, an especially good day to leave this world because, he had such a devotion there to Divine Mercy and was a big part of promoting that within the Universal Church. One question that came up to me right away after the Pope's death was like, gosh, Father, what does this do to Easter? Does this sort of cancel some of the rest of our Easter celebrations? Do we need to get rid of the Easter flowers? Someone said. I said, by all means, no. Certainly, we were mourning, and in our mourning, the death of Pope Francis, but we do so within the context of that celebration of our risen Christ, within the context of the celebration of Easter. And so, yes, the Easter flowers stayed where they were. The Easter feeling and celebration continues on, even as we also do pray for Pope Francis. So, and for his eternal rest. So I'm going to wrap it up there, giving you a shorter video this time after the very long one I had before. And again, thanks for watching. Feel free to share these videos and to subscribe to continue seeing more of them. We're going to try to keep having one a day, at least till the beginning of the conclave, and perhaps a couple days beyond that. But that's all for now. And my next videos, I plan to speak, probably the next 2 videos dedicated to the College of Cardinals, how that's structured, who they are, maybe just even a bit on the history of that as well. But anyway, I'll have that one hopefully again a day or so from now. All right. Thanks a lot. God bless you. Happy Easter.